Hey guys, it's Phoebe from Who's Phoebe and welcome back to another Doctor Who video, and today's review is my review on the latest Doctor Who episode, Rogue. Oh my god, what the hell did I just watch? This episode to me has probably been the best of the series. Now, not to say the rest of the series hasn't been great. We've had things like The Devil's Cord and Boom and stuff like this. There has been a few episodes which have been the slightly weaker of the series, like Dot and Bubble and the Space Babies, but definitely this was one of the stronger ones alongside 73 Yards, Boom and The Devil's Cord. Now this was a very, very interesting episode. This was Bridgerton. This was Doctor Who meets Bridgerton. I loved this episode. It was great. Now, who knew Jonathan Gross's character was actually a good guy? I mean, we knew he was playing some kind of alien, but I didn't know he was gonna be an alien bounty hunter. This is what took me by surprise in this episode, and I love being so surprised in episodes like this. And not just that, the Doctor's sexuality came out in this episode as well, and there was moments like them playing Can't Get You Out of My Head by Kylie Minogue and the Doctor rocking it. I was like, yes, yes, and yes, please, give me more of this, give me more of that. You know, I was really, really, really happy about that song dancing in Rogue's ship. It's like, the Doctor's like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, baby, oh yeah. Sorry if I'm getting a bit too enthusiastic about this. But that was definitely a great moment of the 15th Doctor. Definitely my favourite moment by far. I also loved how the Rogue and the Doctor was like this sort of relationship, which I really loved, but also was like hoping for as well. So like when Rogue enters the TARDIS and the Doctor's like, me and you can travel together, I'm like, finally the Doctor's got someone who shares the same interest. Alien bounty hunter wanting to travel the universe. Hello. I mean, come on, that is like a total awesome moment in this episode. I love that. Because Rogue and the Doctor share basically the same interests in a way. The Doctor travels the universe, saving the world from alien threats, and Rogue is this alien bounty hunter who gets paid to go across the universe and basically hunt aliens that are really, really bad. And I just loved this because Rogue was such a great, like, he was such a good guy in this episode as well. Like, it made sense to have him, like, very similar to the Doctor. I think this is the first time in Doctor Who, apart from River Song, I'm excluding River Song for this, this is the first time in Doctor Who where we've had an alien that isn't the Master or River share the same interest as the Doctor. Because I feel like, because the Doctor travels alone, he's just this Time Lord who travels with various different companions and likes to, you know, save the world because it keeps him busy. The fact that this alien bounty hunter has the same interest as the Doctor makes this episode even more interesting in the aspect that there is obviously good aliens in the universe that the Doctor can count on a moment's notice. And the fact that Rogue was here in 1830 in Bath during this 18th century party for seasons of edible girls, you know, finding bachelors, I felt this was very, very nice vibes. Also because I haven't watched Bridgerton now specifically for this episode, I understood it a bit more. The Chandra were cosplaying Bridgerton. Basically that's what they were doing, because Bridgerton is full of scandals and stuff like that. And to me, I felt like, because I watched Bridgerton anyway for this specific one, but now I'm really enjoying it, can't wait for the next series. But moving on, I felt like I was able to understand this episode a lot more because of that. And I liked how they were basically cosplaying Bridgerton, like, you know, Bridgerton's sort of scandals, and, you know, so I felt like this was very, 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 like, interesting in that aspect, that Doctor Who decided to take one step further and do Bridgerton with aliens. I thought that was really, really cool. Emily definitely took me by surprise. I thought she was generally this 18th century human trying to find love, but turns out she was a Chandra. It was a Chandra of 5. So 5, sort of, it was a family, and I really liked that. It would have been, I feel like it would have been lacking if it had just been one Chandra. The fact it was a whole family made the episode more interesting in that way, because Rogue couldn't have known it was a family without the Doctor's help. So I definitely think that this helped in the aspect that the Doctor and Rogue both wanted the same thing. They both wanted these aliens caught, and the fact that the Doctor changed his device into a bit more of a humane prison where they would go for 600 years to die basically is sort of really, really kind of, you know, interesting in that aspect as well, that he adjusted it to make it sort of a more humane trap, because obviously Rogue is interested in killing, the Doctor isn't. So I felt like that also was a really, really great dynamic between the two of them as well. I also really loved how, because they worked out that the Duchess was kind of drawn to scandal, you get this moment where the Doctor and Rogue have this same-sex dance. Now, same-sex couples back in the 1800s was actually scandalous. So this actually really worked out very, very well for this episode. I did really, really, like, fully enjoy that moment when those two were together. And the fact that Rogue bends down on one knee to propose to the Doctor, oh my god, that was just absolutely fantastic. And I actually felt really sort of emotional during that moment when Rogue kind of bends down and the Doctor takes the ring as sort of an acceptance. So yes, that was definitely a really great moment in this episode as well. Let's also talk about Ruby's moments in this episode. The fact that Ruby goes, oh my, Bridgerton, I mean, amazing that she even says that. And also not just that, the way she was in this episode, the psychic earrings, giving her the moves on how to do these all posh 1800 dances, and she flows with Scooty Gutwa very nicely. Millie Gibson, their friendship is like très excellent. It's like Tegan and the Fifth Doctor, and you know, it feels very, very, very good. Their friendship on screen is perfect. I wouldn't expect anything less. It's just, mwah, like, I love it. But the fact that when she kind of corners Emily, and she says, like, she'd be ruined if this scandal ever got out that she was alone with a man, she's like, oh, this is so Bridgerton, because that totally is. So obviously, you know, how, you know, it worked back then. If couples were caught, like, you know, they were ruined. If obviously the man didn't offer the lady's hand in marriage, that's very posh society. It isn't like that now. But I feel like I feel like the only way to really kind of do this review is by kind of putting some Bridgerton points in. Now, obviously this episode was written by 2 new writers that aren't associated with Doctor Who, but are in fact associated with Bridgerton and have actually written a couple of episodes, which is why obviously this worked as well as it did. The mansion was absolutely fantastic. I loved the scenery, I loved the setting, I loved it all. It was just the perfect kind of place to throw the Doctor and Ruby in, and the fact that the TARDIS was behind a tree interested me neither. But I think a lot of my favourite moments come from the performances of Scooty Gutwa and Jonathan Ross's character itself, just because those two had such a vibe, not because they're both gay, but also because, like, it felt very Doctor Who-y in my opinion, because the Doctor's actually finally met someone who shares his same kind of interest in the universe. So this to me felt very, very much like that in a weird way. Also, what I did really like about this is we saw the Rogue's ship. It wasn't like the Doctor's ship. It was not as big as the TARDIS, I may say. But it was very kind of, the interior was very, very, very interesting. The fact that the Doctor pressed the music and we hear Can't Get Out of My Head by Kylie Minogue and the Doctor's pure shock to that. And his little dance scene, I just loved it. I know I've already kind of gone to that, but you know, this was just amazing. I loved their Regency outfits, not just like the fact that they did this, but also because they are very British outfits as well. Turns out, I did a bit of like research before I even did this. Turns out the costume designer was actually someone who works on Bridgerton, who did the costumes for this particular episode, which I must admit they have done a fantastic job. I love it. But also, there's nothing really negative I can say about this episode. It is so good. It is a great episode. This definitely has its downfalls, like Ruby almost dying. I mean, come on. But the fact that the Doctor had no idea she was cosplaying is very, very interesting. And what was sad about it was the Doctor pure had sadness on his face when Ruby finally told, like, the fact that she was cosplaying. He was actually crying. I was like, oh my god. Scooty Gatwa can pull off the Doctor. He's got so many emotions in this. Like, boom, he's got so many emotions in this. This was just absolutely blooming fantastic. And I'm going to say that as many times as I like. But the fact that Rogue, like, towards the end, sort of pushed Ruby out of the trap and sort of sacrificed himself for her, that was a genuine heartbreak. Like, he kisses the Doctor and then pushes Ruby out of the trap and sacrifices himself. Oh my god, that was heartbreaking. That was actually heartbreaking. Kissing your love goodbye to sacrifice yourself. Oh my god, that was a shocking moment. Also, Susan Twist again. Hello, in the painting. It wasn't like, she wasn't particularly in this episode as a character. She was just a painting of the late Duchess in the mansion. So, yeah, this woman, Susan Twist, is still following the Doctor and Ruby around. And the thing is now, I think, the Doctor and Ruby are slowly now starting to build a pattern. Because Ruby looks at her and even though she doesn't say anything, you can see the look in her eyes is like, I know this woman. And we know next week she's going to have such a more significant role in Doctor Who itself, in like the series itself next week. But the fact that she's been following the Doctor and Ruby around is a very, very, very interesting point. So yeah. So we had a Susan Twist moment in there. I liked that. There's nothing negative to say about this episode. This episode was everything I wanted in Doctor Who. The perfect mix of the Doctor's emotions, Ruby being Ruby, loving her, and the fact that she put her psychic earrings into battle mode to fight Emily was just fantastic. The Doctor and Rogue's dynamic, amazing. And the Kylie Minogue song ups this episode by so much. But yeah, so this was a really great episode for episode number 6. Obviously we've got 2 more episodes left to go. The Legend of Ruby Sunday and then the Empire of Death. So those 2 I've got a feeling are going to be some amazing episodes in themselves. I cannot wait to watch them. I must admit, Rogue is definitely my favourite so far. Not like one of my favourites so far in this series. Like, my favourites are The Devil's Cord, Boom and 73 Yards. So this definitely goes in my list of favourites of series 14 Doctor Who episodes. So yeah, this definitely goes up there with it. I feel like after last week's downfall with Doctor Who, Dot and Bubble, this definitely made up for last week as well. So I'm willing to overlook Dot and Bubble now just because Rogue was so freaking good. So yeah, out of 10, I would give this episode a solid 10 out of 10. Definitely deserves it. If I could give it more, I would. But this episode was amazing. It was right paced and it was just fantastic. It was the best Doctor Who episode I think I've seen in series 14, and that is saying something. Definitely my favourite alongside Devil Squad, Boom and 73 Yards. And this had a lot of the Doctor in, so definitely takes the top spot. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up if you did, and make sure you hit that big subscribe button. My camera cut out, so this is like a little time ending thing. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up if you did, and make sure you hit the big red subscribe button below, and also click the notification bell to get notifications every single time I upload. And I will see you next week for next week's review. Hopefully it's good. And in the words of my favourite Doctor, Allons-y.